Now we discuss about the subgroups. A set H is said to be a subgroup of the big group G if H is itself a group under the same law of composition as that of G, and if all the elements of H are also in G. So we have a group G with us, and suppose we have a set H. The set H is said to be a subgroup of G if the H is a group under the same law of composition as that of G, and all the elements of H are taken from G. Okay. For example, when we consider group of symmetry of the square, the four elements E, C4, C4 square, C4 cube, these elements among themselves forms a group because the law of composition is same, identity element is there, and if you take product of any two elements, you will get an element in the same set. So this forms a group. Okay, inverse also exists. So this set satisfies all the axioms defining the group. Hence, this is a subgroup of the group of symmetry of the square. Okay, so this is a subgroup of C4V group. Now another subgroup or subgroups are there, EC4 square MX MY. Take product of any two elements from this set, and you will see you get an element in the same set. Same way, E sigma U, this forms a group. Okay, E sigma U forms a group. If you take the product with any product of two elements from this set, you will get the same element in the same set. Okay, so for the C4V group, we can find many subgroups. So any group may have many subgroups for it, and every group has two trivial subgroups. Okay, two trivial subgroups. The identity element itself, a single element, identity element, it itself forms a group. Okay, so identity element of any group is a subgroup of it. The group G itself, okay, we have a group, that group itself is the subgroup of group G because it satisfies all the things that we need for defining the subgroup. So any group has two trivial subgroups, the identity element and the group G itself. Now a group H of G is called a proper subgroup if H is not equal to G. Okay, that is the number of elements in H is less than G. If the number of elements in the subgroup is less than the group G, then we say it is a proper subgroup. Okay, so G, we told G is a subgroup of G, but that is not a proper subgroup. If a group has to be a proper subgroup, the number of elements in the group has to be less than the number of elements in the big group. Now if we work out the classes of two subgroups, these are two subgroups, EC4, C4 square, C4 cube, EC4 square, MX, MY, these are all subgroups. Now if you work out the classes of the two subgroups, classes, elements belong, conjugate elements, sets of conjugate elements, we find that every element constitutes a class by itself. So each element is constituting a class by itself. So E, that's a class, C4 is a class. Okay. Now comes the cyclic groups. So subgroup, now a cyclic group. The idea here is if A is an element of a group G, then A square must be present in the group. A square is A composition A. So according to the closure property, A composition A must be present in the group. And if A square A composition A is present in the group, A cube is A composition A square A cube will be present in the group. So A square, A cube, A to the power 4, all must be present in the group G if it has to be a group. Now if G is a finite group, okay, finite group, that means it contains finite number of elements, then there must exist a finite positive integer n such that A raised to n equal to E. Okay, so you have A square, A cube, A to the power 4, and this process stops when for some power of n, A to the power n, it is equal to identity element. Okay, now the smallest positive integer satisfying the above equation, A to the power n equal to E, that is called the order of the element. That is called the order of the element. So each element will have an order. Okay, smallest positive integer for which A to the power, the element to that power, that is equal to identity element, that is called the order of the element. Now the group A square, A to the power n, okay, E, that actually forms a group. These elements A square, then A to the power n equal to E, the smallest power of A, that is equal to E. This forms a group. Okay, this is forming a group. And this group has a property that each of its elements is some power of one particular element. So each of the elements in the group is some power of one particular element. So such groups are called cyclic groups. Okay, so such groups, first element A, second element A square, third element A cube, and A to the power n, that is equal to the identity element. Such a group is called a cyclic group. Okay, or we can also say a group generated by a single element, because each element in the group is some power of one particular element. So a group generated by a single element is a cyclic group. Clearly the cyclic groups are abelian. We have defined abelian group. Okay, cyclic groups are abelian because when you take the product of two elements are commuting, while the converse is not necessarily true. So don't think all abelian groups are cyclic. Okay, all abelian groups are not cyclic, but all cyclic groups are abelian. For example, we see a cyclic group 1i minus 1. So in this, each element is some power of I. Okay, minus I, minus 1 is I square. Okay, minus 1 is I square, minus I is I cube, and 1 is I to the power 4. Okay, so this is an example for a cyclic group. Now we are going to define cosets. Okay, suppose we have a subgroup of a group G. The subgroup is H, consisting of elements H1, H2, HH. That means there are small h number of elements in the subgroup. Okay, and the big group G, that has small g number of elements, so its order is G. Okay, now we take an X, an element of the group G. Okay, we are taking X, picking an element X from the group G and form the products XC, XH2, XH3, XHH. Okay, so we take an element from the big group G, X, and multiply from the left of the group, subgroup H. Okay, so we get the elements Xc, XH2, XH3 like that, XHH. So we have a set like this. XH equal to Xc, XH2, XH3, XHH. Now there arises two cases. X will be in the subgroup H. X may not be in the subgroup H. What is X? X is an element that is taken from the big group G. So when we choose an element from big group G, that may be an element belonging to the subgroup H or not belonging to the subgroup H. Now if X is a member of subgroup H, what will happen is you are taking an element which is member of subgroup H. So when you multiply, we will get H new elements or H elements which are identical to the group H. Okay, because we will have simply a rearrangement of the elements H. So XH is equal to H if X is a member of H. Okay, so that is the first situation. The second situation, if X is not a member of the subgroup, then all the elements of XHI, okay, then all the elements of XHI belongs to G, okay, but none of them is a member of H. Okay, this we have to prove. If X is not a member of the subgroup H, X is taken from G, but it is not a member of subgroup H, then all the elements of XHI, when we multiply the subgroup with X, all the elements of XHI that belongs to G, but none of them is a member of H. Okay, so we are getting new elements from G which do not belong to H. This we can prove starting from a contrary assumption, just opposite assumption. Suppose that XHI for some value of I, okay, XHI is some element of the XH, the set that we get when we multiply H with X. Suppose that it belongs to H. XHI for some value of I belongs to H. Now since H is a group, HI inverse, okay, HI, an element HI, its inverse, HI inverse also belongs to H, because H is a group. Even though it is a subgroup, it's a group. Then if you take XHI, HI inverse, HI inverse is identity element. When it combines with X, we will get X, which is in H. Okay, so X that is in H. Okay, so this is when we take a contrary hypothesis, we get X is in H. Okay, so this shows that X is not a member of H. Okay, so this proves that X and XH have no common element. So if you are taking X in such a way that it does not belongs to H, okay, if it does not belongs to H, we have taken X such that it does not belongs to H, and then we try to take this product. We get X as an element because XHI is an element in the group. Okay, XHI, we assume that XHI belongs to H. So XHI belongs to H. That HI inverse, that belongs to H. So when you take the product, you should get an element which belongs to H. But we have first of all said that X is not a member of H. So that means H and XH have no common element. So H intersection XH, since H and XH have no common element, H intersection XH, that is a null set. Okay, H intersection XH, that is a null set. Set XH, okay, the set XH is called the left coset of H. Okay, the set XH is called the left coset of H with respect to X. Okay, similarly we can define a right coset of H in G with respect to X, so that we can define right coset of H in G with respect to X as the set of elements Hx. So now we are multiplying the subgroup from the right by X. So Hx is equal to Ex, H2x, H3x, Hhx, like that. So these are the left coset and the right coset. Important thing is, if you multiply the subgroup with an element which is not member of which is a member of subgroup H, then XH will be identical to H. There will be only a rearrangement of elements. But if X is not a member, then all the elements of XHI that will belong to G, okay, that will belong to G, but none of them is a member of H. So we will be getting new elements from the group G when X is not a member of the subgroup H. This idea is very important to us. We will be using this in the next section for deriving a theorem on subgroups, which is called the Lagrange's theorem.